Hey, Boyd Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Celtics hitting the road. They haven't had a ton of road games so far this year. They haven't seen the Western Conference often this year. And this trip features a slew of opponents that they haven't seen yet. Nets on Sunday, Raptors after that. They'll see the Warriors next weekend in a finals rematch, as well as the Lakers, Clippers, Phoenix Suns. I think that's all six right there. We'll have coverage at a few of those spots starting on Sunday in Brooklyn. And we'll see who makes this trip. Sort of
test.
Poking around pregame, and Rob's going to travel. He's been traveling. He's been on 2 trips so far since that injury, the New York one, as well as the most recent road trip through Atlanta and New Orleans and Chicago. This time, I hear he's packing his shoes. He's packing a jersey. I don't have a date. We're still going with before Christmas, as Woj reported there.
Packed already, huh? That's a good sign.
But it seems like Robert Williams could make his return on this trip. What kind of impact would that have on this team now?
Man, that'll have a tremendous impact, in my opinion, even if it's a limited Rob, because I think it lifts the spirits of his entire team, and especially throughout the grind of a 6-game road trip where you got the second night of a back-to-back from Toronto to Phoenix. I mean, it's not easy for the Celtics, and I think this is the kind of test that you want at this point of the season. Best record in the NBA, best offense in the NBA, and now you're going to be battle tested. And I think for Rob to be in the middle of that is relevant. It's huge, especially if he's active.
Yeah, and he can get his feet under him. I don't know, won't be playing big minutes right away.
He needs the game reps.
As we've talked about, I don't think he's going to start. He'll probably come off the bench and start to ramp up. And the key is going to be they don't have a lot of practice. They don't have a lot of opportunities to throw him out there in game action. We've seen him in a controlled scrimmage at shoot-around. He's been dunking. He's been running. But the only way to really get back in game shape is to be out there in those games. And it might knock this team off their trajectory a little bit trying to integrate him. We've talked about that. But if he can give you some good minutes and you can put him in that Luke Cornett role, which you might need to, he kind of hyperextended his knee in this one. That's a good spot for you to, I think, get the best out of him against opposing second units and with a minimal spurt of playing time.
Exactly, because you can't simulate that type of energy, right? Those type of situations where you're not quite sure what's going to happen on the other side of the team. You're not quite sure how they're going to plan for you. And I also want to see what he looks like on offense. I mean, we know what he does on defense. We know health-wise, everything seems to be okay. No setbacks, no structural damage, none of that type of thing. So that's a good sign. So if it's a mental thing, if this is about Rob just waiting to when he's ready, his body's ready, and he feels like, okay, I can give you, the amount of effort to not hurt this team, and it happens on this trip, then it's huge. It's beneficial. But again, I just think offensively, him setting screens, pick and roll, pick and pops. I mean, him getting anywhere near to what we saw last year is just going to be huge for this team and their development and where they are right now. Sure, they still have the #1 record in the NBA, but things can change in the stretch of a 6-game road trip. So for him to be in the middle of that, and especially if he's active, I think that's the type of thing that's going to be beneficial. And we'll see a better version, a much better version of Rob way before the All-Star break, compared to what we had anticipated going into the regular season.
And this road trip, you look at the teams that are ahead of them, you'll see some of the best defenses in the league in this one. I think the Clippers are #2, Lakers #1 in the half court. You got Toronto defense. They've been banged up. We'll see who plays in that game, but they're pretty feisty, long, and active. We saw them really challenge the Celtics in the preseason.
Those are the kind of teams that give Celtics fits for sure.
So this night tonight against the Heat was really the first night we've seen the Celtics struggle offensively. They still score 116, but the threes aren't falling. Turnovers start flowing. What did you see tonight that they're going to have to avoid on this West Coast trip against those type of teams?
Turnovers for sure, just cleaning up the offense, trying to seek better shots, which has been their identity up until this point, I guess. I mean, they had other games in the past where they sort of dropped the ball and reverted back to bad habits, but they also have to make sure that they continue to just try to stay within the flow of the game. I just think
in the flow of the offense.
The offense, right. Like, I feel like the Miami Heat was forcing them to do things they didn't want to, and I think that making sure that Tatum didn't get any rhythm whatsoever, put them in a bad spot. And I think that other teams are going to look at that. They're going to look at that as, okay, that's the key. Because now, the Celtics have always had a target on their back because of how well they've been playing the last month or so. But in another way, people are trying to see, how can we rattle Tatum? What sort of ways can we do it? And I think that the Miami Heat has sort of put out the blueprint, at least early on, of how to slow him down. And now that you're going up against just as good teams out there, out west, that are really good on defense, you're putting yourself in a spot that you can what am I trying to say? You can bounce back in a big way if you're able to do that, especially early on in this trip.
Yes, Heat more proactive in this game.
Yeah.
Zone went out the window after that disaster on Wednesday.
Yeah, they're done doing that.
They got more aggressive and threw different guys at him and kept the ball out of his hands for stretches as well. Celtics go on a big 7-minute drought in this one. Then they avoid that out west and will start to dig into that road trip on Sunday down in New York. We'll have coverage. Josue and I head down, as well as A. Blakely. So we'll be well represented down there and keep an eye on what's going on with this team as they embark out west. Follow it all at Celtics All Access, CLNS Media on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere you can find us. And show our sponsor some love. com.com/garden gets you 40% off a premium subscription of that great app, and athleticgreens.com/garden gets you a year's supply of vitamin D, as well as 5 free travel packs for Josue, Pavon, Bobby Manning. We'll see you back here at TD Garden in 2 weeks.